Hey y'all, it's Miss Flores. So today we are going to continue modeling multiplication problems with decimals. So on Tuesday and Wednesday we modeled multiplication with hundreds grids doing whole number multiplication with decimals. Now I'm going to show y'all how we multiply using models with decimal times decimal numbers. So let's look at our first problem. So our first problem, we've got 1/10 times 7/10. So when I'm doing multiplication with decimals, my answer gets smaller because I'm trying to find a piece of another number, right? Normally y'all think of multiplication as, answers getting bigger. When we're multiplying decimals by decimals, they'll end up somewhere in between because I'm trying to find a portion, right? Because a number that's a decimal is less than 1, so it's just a piece of another number. So the way that we do this is we are going to look at 1/10. So let's take this square. So before y'all had to use the shape tool in order to create your own, the shapes are already there and you just have to adjust them to the size. So if I've got 1/10, I'm going to model this to look like 1/10. So remember, 1/10 was 10 hundredths, right? So 10 hundredths would be this size. This would be 10 hundredths. Because 1/10, remember, one column is 1/10. So I've got my 1/10. So now I'm going to do my 7/10. So when we're multiplying, one number is going to go vertically, up and down. The other number is going to go side to side. So I'm going to take this purple, and I'm going to model 7/10 going side to side. So just like there are 10 rows, there are also 10 columns, there are also 10 rows, right? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows. So one row is going to be 1/10. 7 rows would be 7/10. So I'm going to scoot this over, and I'm going to drag it down to where it's going to be 7 rows. 7 rows would end right here. So this is our model for multiplying 1/10 times 7/10, right? And our answer is going to be where they overlap. So if you see right here is where they overlap. Right here was where they overlapped. So how many squares is that? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 squares, but remember this is a hundreds grid, so it would be 7 hundredths. So our answer would be 0.07. And that's how we model multiplication with two decimal numbers. Let's look at the next one. So now I've got 4/10 times 1 6/10. So when we've got a whole number and a decimal, this number is what needs to be going vertically. So it's going to go up and down. So I'm going to take this blue square and I'm going to fill up 1 6/10. So 1 6/10 would be one entire hundreds grid, right? One entire hundreds grid. So this whole thing would be filled up, right? But then I need to copy it, paste it, and then add those extra 6/10 onto the other side. So 6/10 would be 6 columns, right? 60 hundredths, which would be right there. So this is 1 6/10 completely full. Now I'm going to take my 4/10 and I'm going to go horizontally. So I'm going to cover 4/10, so 4 rows. So 4 full rows. So that's going to go over here and go down 4. So I'd have 2, 3, 4. So right there. Then I'm going to take my, there we go. So I'm going to take my 4/10 and also put it over here. I copied it and pasted it. There we go. Hold on. There we go. So now I've got my 1 6/10, right? That's the blue. The 4/10 is the purple. Where they overlapped is my answer. So you don't have to draw where they overlapped. I'm just doing that just to show y'all. So first off, they overlapped right here, right? And they also overlapped right here. So they overlapped here. The only difference is that the blue's on top on this one, which is why it looks like a little different color. But so they overlapped here and here. So this is my answer, right? This is finding 4/10 of 1.6. So I can count my squares, and that's going to be my answer. So I had 10, 20, 30, 40, 44, 48, 52, 56, 60, 64. 64 squares are filled in, so that would be 64 hundredths as my answer. So 0.64. So let's look at another one. Let's look at number 5. Number 5, we've got 6/10 times 9/10. So I'm going to do 6/10 going up and down, and 9/10 going side to side. So let's take our color. So we're going to take our box, and we're going to drag it towards 6/10. Remember, one row or one column is 1/10. So 6/10 would be 6 of them. So I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/10 would be right here. That is 6/10 colored in. So now my 9/10, I'm going to have it go side to side, right? So one row is 1/10. So I'm going to make it 9 rows to make it 9/10. 9 rows, here's 8, 9 rows. There we go. So this is my model. Where they overlap is my answer. So if I look at the colors where they overlap, right, where it's a mix of blue and purple, this is going to be my answer. Well, I've got 9 rows of 6. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 times. That's 54 squares in here. Remember, each little square is 100th. So my answer would be 54 hundredths. 54 hundredths. Let's do one more. Let's look at this one, number 10. So it says, Nicole draws a mural on her wall. She begins by drawing a line that is 5/10 meters long. She traces 2/10 of the line with a purple pencil. What is the length of the purple part of the pencil? Or purple part of the line, sorry. So if you see, we're trying to find 2/10 of. Of is a key word meaning multiply, right? We're trying to find a piece of the original amount. So I'm going to multiply. I'm going to multiply 5/10 times 2/10. So 5/10 would be 5 columns, right? So I'm going to take my purple, make it into a column up and down. So remember, 5/10 would be 5 of these. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is 5/10 or 50 hundredths. Since 5/10 went up and down, 2/10 has to go side to side. So 2/10 would be 2 rows, right? 2 rows. So I'm going to drag it to make 1 row. And then 2 rows would be right here. So here I've got my my model, right? I've got my 5/10 and I've got my 2/10. Where they overlap is my answer. So look how many squares are in the area where they overlap. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is 10 squares. So that would be 10 hundredths. 0.01. Remember, this 0 isn't important, right? Because 10 hundredths is the same thing as 1/10. So you could either write 0.01 or 0.1 as your answer, and that would be correct. So what you are doing on most of these problems is that you are creating your own model. On a couple questions, you have a model already given to you, and you are trying to pick which answer best represents that model, right? So in here, I would count how many columns I have. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 columns. So that would be 7/10. And then how many rows? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 rows, so that would be 6/10. So it sounds like 7/10 times 6/10 is equal to something, which would be how much they overlap. So you need to figure out which equation matches that. And there's a couple of questions that look like that. The rest of them you are having to model yourself. Remember, you already have these squares given to you. If you need another one, so like on this whole one, if I've got 1.7, I'm going to have to copy and paste this. So remember, you can copy and paste it to add extra ones. If not, you can always add an extra box with a color in it. So this is our assignment today. We will meet back up to discuss any questions that you might have had, go over some questions, and I will see y'all later. Have a fantastic day, guys. Bye.